Hey everyone, my name is Wedge and welcome back to our Guilds of Ravnica pre-release guide series. In this video, we're going to talk about everything Selesnya in preparation for this weekend's events. In case you've missed our previous episodes, we've already gone over the Boros Legion, Golgari Swarm, and Izzet League. If you want to check those out, there will be links on the screen and in the description. Alright, without further ado, let's talk Dryad Centaur Elf craziness. Selesnya is the guild of community and family. You know the saying, strength in numbers? The Selesnya probably came up with that. The guild's power comes from everyone and everything fighting towards a common goal, almost like a hive mind. If you're a Selesnyan, you value your people over all others. You are part of something much bigger than yourself, and have no problem using violence, war, and even deceit to ultimately achieve safety and peace for your people. The Selesnya can be ruthless, don't get it twisted. If you choose this guild, you're choosing to go wide and bring the pain fast. The Selesnyan mechanic in Guilds of Ravnica is Convoke, a returning mechanic. Spells with Convoke allow your creatures to help cast said spells. Each creature you tap while casting the spell pays for one of anything or one mana of that creature's color. So basically, you're rewarded for massing creatures so that all of those creatures can help you mass more creatures. We're talking Jumanji up in here, an avalanche of creatures. The power in Convoke is being able to drop something powerful either very early in the game or during a time when you need your actual mana up and can tap everything you have, essentially making the spell pseudo-free. Take a look at World Soul Colossus, one of the quintessential Convoke creatures. It gets bigger the more mana you spend to cast it, or the more creatures you tap to convoke it. This is what the Selesnya are all about. Same with Siege Worm, huge cost that can be reduced for a giant creature. Same with Loxodon Restore. These cards exist to be convoked. Selesnya is about two things, massing creatures and ramping, because massing creatures basically is ramp in a convoke deck. Now, let's talk about the rares and mythics that could be the promo in the guild pre-release box so we know what to expect. The first promo you can get is Tristani Discordant. This card is bonkers. Don't let the 1/4 power and toughness fool you. It anthems everything. You get 2/2/2 soldiers with lifelink thanks to the anthem. If you open this in your seeded pack, playing green-white just got a lot more likely. Next is Amara, Soul of the Accord. This rare exists to convoke creatures. Being a 2/2 for 2 with upside is nice, but if you have Convoke in your deck at all, wow does this shine. Amara creates more creatures to convoke with. She's insane, very good. Assure and Assemble is up next. Assure is a fine combat trick that can save something important, and Assemble is a powerful late-game spell that gives you even more to convoke with and spreads your board wide. One of your goals. Solid include March of the Multitudes wants to be convoked so badly, and it will. This is another bomb in a Selesnya heavy deck thanks to Convoke, and thanks to creating so many 1/1 lifelinking soldiers, so busted. Impervious Great Worm is the ultimate Convoke payoff as one of the biggest creatures in all of Magic. Shout out to my boy Avatar of Merit Lage. The Great Worm will win games as a function as an abyss every turn, absorbing a chump blocker. Great for Convoke. Camaraderie is a huge payoff for a creature-heavy deck and is only useful in that type of deck. It is entirely dependent on having a wide board. So only use this card if you're in a deck that can sufficiently go wide. You do not want to draw this as a dead card. Next is Night of Autumn. At worst, this is a 3-mana 4/3. I believe it's much better in constructed play, but in limited it'll perform just fine. And finally, Venerated Loxodon. This card is crazy, insane, amazing. Rewarding your convoked creatures with a permanent buff is real big, in addition to the 4/4 body it brings with it. That's a ton of power and toughness for 5 mana. Now, as far as rares and mythics are concerned, Selesnya is represented really well. There aren't any flat-out bad cards that you can't use, so if you open just any of these, you should be able to include them. That's always good to know when choosing which guild you want to play. Now, let's make sure there's enough non-rare support in Selesnya to make this deck happen. Remember, Convoke is the name of the game, so creating creatures is of the utmost importance. Conclave Cavalier is huge, and when it dies, it gives you a bunch of creatures. Conclave Guildmage is a creature engine, but an expensive one. Ledev Champion is another expensive creature producer. Sprouting Renewal convokes to create a creature, and honestly, that's kind of it. That's all the Selesnya and watermarked cards have to offer in the form of creature creation, and most of it is expensive. You don't want to wait to convoke. The power in that mechanic is being able to use it early as if it were ramp. Let's look at the Convoke payoff card so you can see what I mean. Arboretum Elemental is monstrous, and if it comes down early enough, probably just wins the game. Same with Flight of Equinaughts, or the previously mentioned World Soul Colossus and Siege Worm. These are huge payoff cards that need creatures to tap. In addition to the straight beasts, Rosemane Centaur and Ledev Guardian both benefit from Convoke, adding to Loxodon Restore that we mentioned earlier. And that's the thing, we're not even done. There are Convoked Spells, Pax Favor, Pause for Reflection, the insane removal spell Conclave Tribunal, and Sprouting Renewal that needs Convoke to add to Convoke. As you can see, Selesnya is heavy into Convoke. Now, obviously you can cast any of these spells just for their original mana cost, but that isn't the point of Convoke. Convoke exists to cheat creatures out early. That's how we need to take advantage of the mechanic. So let's see what's in the rest of white and green to help us do that. Hazda Marshal creates a token whenever it and 2 other creatures attack. That has some promise. Hunted Witness replaces itself. I guess that's not so bad. Sworn Companions. Now that's a great card for a deck like this. 2 creatures for the price of 1 and more Convoke material. Generous Stray is alright in that it replaces itself and is Convoke fodder, in addition to really any Vigilance creature ever that can attack and Convoke in the same turn. Looking at you, Vernati Shieldmate. So this is where things get interesting. I don't particularly enjoy playing just white and green in this pre-release. I like the idea of adding a third color, and there are really only 2 options that make sense, and they both take the deck in opposite directions. So we'll start with red, the obvious third color. Including red in this deck is actually pretty easy, since you're already naturally in green. Between Flower and Flourish, District Guide, Circuitous Route, Urban Utopia, the Lockets, and Guild Gates, you're going to be just fine splashing a third color, since so many of your early creatures are quite small. Mentor is the perfect mechanic. Not only will your creatures be useful as Convoke machines, but they'll be powerful to boot. Look for cards like Parhelion Patrol, Sunhome Stalwart, and Blade Instructor in white. Then, in addition to the obvious bomb rares in red, you want creatures like Barging Sergeant, Goblin Banneret, Wojak Bodyguard. Then you can go into Boros itself and grab Boros Challenger, Hammer Dropper, Swath Cutter Giant, Truefire Captain, Sky Knight Legionnaire. There's so many creatures, and these won't be difficult for you to cast at all. You have so many powerful options. Beyond all of these powerful creatures, there are even more powerful spells. Going Naya gives you access to a plethora of removal. This is how much removal / pseudo removal you have to work with. Collar the Culprit, Conclave Tribunal, Demotion, Luminous Bonds, Righteous Blow, Command the Storm, Direct Current, Justice Strike, Cosmotronic Wave, Inescapable Blaze, Lava Coil, Affectionate Indrik, and Prey Upon. There are more than enough options here to fill the rest of your deck with playables. The key to running these 3 colors together is getting enough Convoke payoff cards, enough removal spells, and enough Convoke enablers. This deck is a mid-range deck that functions on the fast end of a mid-range deck. You want to cast your giant Convoke creatures relatively quickly and swing in as soon as possible. By adding red, you make this deck far more aggressive, so be sure to act like it. The other direction you can take Selesnya is Obzan. By adding black, you actually slow the deck down. If you're looking for something a bit safer and more controlled, the Golgari Swarm is for you. Remember, Golgari's mechanic is Undergrowth, which cares about creatures in your graveyard. You are Selesnya, so you will undoubtedly lose creatures as the game goes on, which fuels Undergrowth. See, we're going for a true late game here. In green, you already have some payoff cards in Golgari Raiders, Crawl Foragers, Crawl Harpooner, and Vigor Spore Worm. Since you also might be running some filler creatures like Wild Ceratok and Wary Okapi, these creatures are going to eventually die and they'll fuel Undergrowth. But the real power in Golgari is the black that's added to this deck. First, we get even more access to good removal in Deadweight, Deadly Visit, Price of Fame, Necrotic Wound, Plague Crafter, and Severed Strands. already a solid reason to splash a color. But the Undergrowth creatures? So spicy. Lotleth Giant is a late game win condition with that trigger. Moodmark Painter grants evasion and a giant power boost. And Undercity Necrolisк would love to sacrifice your tokens for power. Then we have the Multicolored Creatures, the Golgari payoffs for already being in one of the colors before you even add black. It's so easy to splash. Golgari Finebroker, Molderhulk, Ocarina Assassin, Rhizome Lurcher, Swarm Guildmage is a late game win condition. Undercity Uprising might as well be a board wipe, you get the picture. It isn't the most direct synergy out there, but if you prefer a slower, more controlled strategy, splashing black into Selesnya is going to give you that. Slow, powerful, and inevitable. Actually pretty dang scary now that I think about it. Jeez. If you take anything away from this guide, it should be that the Selesnya Conclave has plenty of powerful cards in it, but it becomes way more powerful with some help. If you choose Selesnya at your pre-release and open anything even remotely good in red or black, consider splashing one of those colors. If you have enough in green and white, perfect. But there isn't a lot of Convoke fodder in just those two colors, so don't be afraid to branch out. Either way, focus on a creature curve so you can drop permanents every single turn. Focus on convoking early and being more aggressive than the decks that run blue. You're probably a mid-range deck, but a fast mid-range deck, remember that. And that's going to do it for our Selesnya Conclave Guilds of Ravnica pre-release guide. I do hope these are helping you get ready for your pre-release. Let me know what you're thinking about this guild and the rest of the guilds in the comments, and we'll talk about it. Also, be sure to stay tuned for the final episode in this series coming at you real soon. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. This video is brought to you in part by TCGplayer.com. Guilds of Ravnica booster boxes are still pre-ordering for a cool $91 each. I am such a broken record, but when you can get boxes this cheap, who would it be? Am I right? If you don't have a local game store or yours is charging way too much, click the link on the screen. Get your boxes for a great price. It helps the channel. It's a win-win for everyone. Enjoy.